Hey guys, Semi Monster here with another chat and draw video. I hope you like these videos. They're a bit longer than I would normally make them, but I really enjoy talking to you guys. And I'm doing two in a row. Well, not two in a row. I've uploaded some more videos. I uploaded a traditional video, so I hope you guys liked that if you did watch it. But anyway, I thought in this video I would give you a few hints and tips on how I use Clip Studio Paint because, oh my god, I've been using Clip Studio Paint for 3 years now. I just realised that. 3 years. Well, maybe just going on to 3 years. But yeah, I really like Clip Studio Paint. It's a really good program and it's really easy to use. And if you know how to use Photoshop, it's kind of very similar in a way, except I think it's a little bit easier. The interface is a lot easier to use. But anyway, for those who don't know who I'm drawing, I'm actually drawing Harley Quinn. If you didn't watch the last chat and draw where I updated you on my life, I did Batgirl. And I wanted to do a series after I really liked how Batgirl turned out, so I wanted to do a series of ladies of Gotham, and yeah, I'm putting that on hold at the moment because I've started working on other ideas, but you will see them in videos hopefully. I've been making a lot of videos lately, so hopefully I've got plenty of content for you guys. But what I like to do, I like to start sketching out, and like my drawing, obviously that's what you do, you sketch it out. And for this one I cheated a little bit. I actually wanted to kind of make the series unified, so I just copied the Batgirl sketch over onto a new canvas and altered it a bit, so they would kind of look similar but not completely similar, and they would be about the same height. So yeah, so what I like to do, I like to sketch as I would if I'm sketching traditionally, and I use a colour pencil to sketch traditionally, like a coloured graphite pencil, and I really like that method. So I use a coloured pencil, and lately I've tend to use a colour from the colour palette, which I don't recommend. I'm trying to get out of that habit because I don't recommend it for myself, but you might be able to use it, I don't know, because I actually have been doing this method where I turn down my base colors to a light like still a dense opacity, but like lighter, so I can see my under sketch, so I can kind of replicate that when I'm coloring in my tone and stuff like that, because I don't use line art as of late. But yeah, that's what I do. Then I've been leaning towards colors that I tend to use in my color palette, and they get a bit lost when I'm trying to sketch, so I've got to go in and change it. So if you're doing something similar to that, I suggest using a contrasting color, something that you're going to be able to see. And as you can see, I'm using one of my other artworks as a reference for drawing her hands. I really suck at hands. Most artists will tell you this. Like, I think I've suck at anatomy in general, but I really struggle getting things right in this sketch. As you can see, I'm drawing her mallet like 50 times. I drew her mask like 50 times. I drew a headpiece like 50 times. But again, this is still a kind of a therapeutic piece, trying to get out of this rut that I've been in, because if you watched my previous video, you would, oh well, not my previous video now, but if you watch my Batgirl, which I'll leave a link down in the description below, you'll know that I've been going through a lot of stuff, and it's kind of used up all my, like, it just got me stuck in my head. And when you're stuck in your head, you tend not to want to draw, or you tend to, I don't know, you tend to be a lot harder on yourself, I guess. But yeah, as you can see, I used a lot of references. I really wanted this to be a little bit cheeky, because, you know, I really like Harley's mallet. I think that's like one of the best weapons in like all comic book villains and heroes. Like, that is a really clever weapon. I just think it's really cute and funny, I don't know. And I saw a lot of like cheeky, like with Harley cosplay, I saw a lot of like cheeky mallets with like Batman's face on it with like X's and your face here, like kind of references, and I wanted to include that because I thought it was really cute. So yeah, I'm not happy with it. Like there are things that I could pick out that I'm not happy about with this piece, but you know, I'm still not crazy about that mask. No matter how many times I tried to get it right, I couldn't. But yeah, once I've got I usually, when it comes to sketches, I usually work in a couple of layers. Like if I'm unsure that I'm gonna be able to do something right, I tend to make a new layer, and then when I'm finished the sketch, so there's not so many layers, I tend to merge them all together, or you know, sometimes I keep parts separate just because I'm not sure if I like it, but layers are good. That's why, you know, these programs have them, and I think layers are a lifesaver. So the next thing I like to do after I've got my sketch, after I'm happy with my sketch, I like to lay down the flat colors, like base colors. I usually start with my lightest mid-tone color. As you can see, I'm laying down some colors. I don't necessarily keep those colors. Sometimes I go around and I change them, but they're definitely good to have on hand on somewhere on the canvas, because if you if you have to go back and fix it, you've got your color right there. So I like to work with, like I said, I like working with layers. So to lay down my base colors, I'm trying to get out of the habit of using these. I want to get out of the habit of using these, but I tend to use vector layers. Now vector layers help with line work. They're just awesome, and I think if you're starting out, vectors is probably a good place to start, especially if you like line work and you like crisp line work. I don't have the best hands, and I find that working on my Wacom Intuos, it's a little slippery, but it is a lot firmer than my previous tablet, which was a Havon. But yeah, it's a lot steadier, and this program has a stabilizer, so when you're drawing lines, they're not gonna be really shaky. But what I like to do, I like to use two types of there's two types of layers in Clip Studio Paint. There's the vector layer and the raster layer. The vector layer will help you with line work, and you know, there's a few other things that it does, but I usually only use it for line work. And like I said, I don't really use line work because that takes up too much time, and I'm trying to get into the habit of not using lines as much as I normally would. But I like to use the shape tools and the line tools to create the initial shape and then fill it in, but you can't fill it in with a bucket tool on the vector layer line, so you have to make a separate layer. So that's what I do, and then I merge the two layers and make them raster layers. I hope that makes sense. If you want a more in-depth kind of talk about it, I can go over that at some point. But at the moment, that's just how I do it. I might change again later. I'm trying to step out of my comfort zone. In saying that, I still revert back to my old habits. But it can be hard once you get into like something that you've kind of got down pat, like you've got a method. You kind of like to stay in your comfort zone, and I'm wanted to get out of that comfort zone. So yeah, what else can I talk about until we get to the next step? I like to use the grid tool, keep the grid on if I'm doing something front on, because I like symmetry. I'm really like kind of OCD about that, I guess. Not OCD. I don't know. I'm really kind of anal about it. So that's probably a better term. It's probably still not a better term, but I'm kind of anal about it. But yeah, I was originally going to keep her hair, like have a bit of her hair hanging out, but I didn't like how it was looking. I didn't like the color choices either, so I actually ended up getting rid of it. But yeah, what else can I talk about? Trying to color this mallet was tricky. I struggled a little bit, and then I kind of worked around it and worked out how to do it. So sometimes you've just got to be patient and try a few different things before you get something that works. But so Harley is like my favorite character in not Suicide Squad, but in general. I think she's what kind of got me back into Batman. Her and Joker, like, they're great characters. Not together. I have issues with that, but I really just really like Harley, and I did see Suicide Squad. I liked it more than I was expecting, but I wasn't crazy about it. I think what held that movie together, what made that movie good, was the actual casting itself. I think they did a really good job, and they used people that I wouldn't have expected them to use. Like when they announced the casting, I wasn't sure about it, and then those actors surprised me, like Will Smith as Deadshot. Like, and I don't have a problem with them casting Will Smith as Deadshot, like any person of color as Deadshot, because I think that's really cool. That's a really big step up in the world. Like casting someone, like I think that's amazing. Casting a person of color to play someone who's usually often portrayed as a white man, but I think everybody did a great job in that movie. I'm not crazy about Jared Leto as the Joker, but whatever. Anyway, so now we're getting into the adding tone process, and I like to do that in another folder. I like to make folders. That's really helpful, and I usually have about 20 layers or so when I get down to it at the end of it. So I often usually start with the skin, because the face is what I know how to do, and lately I've just been doing the whole face before I do anything else. But the tool that I like to use for coloring is the transparent watercolor tool, and that's in the brush, that's under the brush icon. I like this one because you can kind of blend it out, and the great thing about it is it'll blend into the other layers as you use it. So like you use the pen tool. If you use the pen tool often enough, like in Clip Studio or any other kind of program, you notice that if you press lightly, you get a thinner line, or if you press hard, you get a thicker line. So with the watercolor tool, it kind of works like watercolor. So if you put a lot of pressure on the pen, if you press hard on the pen, it distributes a lot of color, and then when you lightly press, it distributes less color, and you can really get in there and kind of blend it out nicely and smoothly. But I kind of like doing it a little bit rough, so you get those painterly. It kind of looks painterly a little bit. It still looks like a digital piece, but you know. What other tools do I like to use? Mostly that one. I really also like the spray can tools. I love the shadow paint spray can for the blush. It kind of gives that nice flush. And then I use the layer tools to kind of make it blend in. But that's what I like to use to color. What else can I talk about? I also like the noise spray can. I think it's called the noise one, because I tried that out with my Batgirl piece, and I gave her some freckles, and they looked really good. I really liked that. But that's pretty much what I use. I don't really go too crazy with other tools. I've tried out the other tools, and this is my favorite tool. If you're starting to do digital work, maybe you want to try the blending tools, and they look like the two, if you're using Clip Studio Paint, they look like little drops of water. One's black, one's white, and I started using the watercolor blending tool because I like watercolors. That's my favorite medium to use in traditional work. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And this kind of gives me the transparent watercolor kind of gives me the same effect, but it's more opaque than watercolors, I guess. But I really like it. I really like layering over it. And the other thing you can do, which you can't do with watercolors, is you can add in lighter colors on top. But I really like working in layers. I think it works better in layers. It doesn't mess up too much. If you work on one layer, it can kind of get messy. So if you work on a separate layer, you can kind of blend out a lot nicer, if that makes any sense. But again, if you want something more in depth, please feel free to let me know, and I can do maybe a few videos on how I color, I guess, in more of a slower version, or in a more of a slower video or something, if that's something you want to see. I don't really know, but yeah, I definitely like using the transparent watercolor with layers, like working each color on a separate layer, because if you do it on one layer, it can get messy. I've also been working like how was I gonna say it? I've been struggling with highlights lately. I've noticed that I've been putting them anywhere and they kind of look weird, and I need to, not everything needs like a very stark highlight. But I've also been really liking using like a yellow as a highlight as opposed to a white. But that's just, you know, things that you pick up as you go on. Or highlights don't always have to be white. Colors reflect certain colors differently, so just that's something you have to keep in mind. And sometimes you don't always need highlights, which is what I need to tell myself. But red and black is they're really hard colors to work with. I think I'm getting better. I think I kind of hit a breakthrough with this piece. So for the black, I went really light with the blue. The first color I laid down was a really light blue, because I wanted to kind of pay homage to the comics I've been reading. And if you've ever read a comic, often enough blacks have these very vibrant blue highlights. And mostly with Harley, like if I've seen her in comics and things like that, when she's in her traditional garb, and blue seems to be the way to go with black. But again, black is a color that can reflect different colors. It can be a warm black, it can be cool black, you know, it can have tones of red, tones of blue. It's just something you've got to look for. With the red, I tried something a little bit different. I was originally going to do blue, but I didn't want the red to be I don't know, it's really hard to explain, but if you use the wrong kind of blue in the red, it can go muddy, and I didn't want that. So I tried out purple with the red to make those shadows, and I actually really like it. Like in some areas it looks really good, in other areas you can see it's purple and it doesn't look so great, but I really like it. It kind of makes the red look a bit velvety as opposed to shiny, so that's probably not how I want it to go, but I don't mind it looking kind of velvety. Her outfit is often depicted as like I would assume a latex, but I don't know. I like the idea that it's velvety. It kind of reminds me of traditional Harley Quinns. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but what else can I say? We're coming up to, we're getting close to the end. I did have to redo your face here again at some point, because my computer decided to restart. I'm having a lot of troubles with my computer, so yeah, I really wanted to add green to pay homage to the Joker, just a little bit. Not that I think Joker and Harley are a good couple, but I struggled with the background. I think I'm going to go in and change that at some point, because I really wanted a brick background with like graffiti on it. So it looked like Harley had been like spray painting her love for Joker on it, I guess. But yeah, I think I might change that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to see if you want any more in-depth hints and tips on Clip Studio Paint, please feel free to let me know. Like I said, I've been using it for 3 years. I kind of know my way around it. There are still things that I'm learning, but yeah, that's just, you know, that's to be expected with anything. Like, you learn as you do. But yeah, if you want to stay up to date with videos, please subscribe. I would love to have you here for every single video if I could. I hope you're enjoying these longer videos. If you're not, please feel free to let me know. And that's pretty much it from me. I hope you, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, thanks for watching, and I will hopefully talk to you all very, very, very soon. Bye!